Positive vibes, maybe. PVM the talk show coming to you guys. New time, special time today. You know, got a special guest for you guys. So sit back, relax. Tonight's gonna be an enjoyable episode. So to those entering the room, what are the vibes? What are the feels? How is everyone doing today? Tonight's topic is going to be self, and it was actually brought to us by Jeide. So once he enters the room, he'll be able to introduce today's topic, and then we'll bring in today's guest as well. So, as I say, how is everyone feeling today? Ooh, today's guest is ready, already up in here as well. Actually, let me send this invite to her. So, how's everyone doing today? What's the vibes? What's the energy on this Sunday? Like, what's the spirits? I know the holiday season coming up, and with that happening, next Sunday, I believe it's going to be, I believe that's New Year's. I believe that's Christmas Day, actually. So positive vibes. Maybe we won't be doing an episode on Christmas, guys. So we'll obviously take next week off. So this will be our last episode until the last week of the year. Wow. This year has come to an end pretty fast. Like most things, you gotta enjoy the moment as it happened. But it's been a good year. So Ayana, when you're ready, send me the invite and I'll bring you in. And actually, never mind. I actually as well too. Send him an invite. And there we go. And the insight, how you doing, love? I see
Hi.
you. Yes.
I'm good. How
How
are
you
you?
doing today?
No,
I'm good. How you
because I'm
doing?
doing a live.
Well,
Like, I
how's the
really get
weekend going
nervous when I
overall?
do these, so I don't like to do them often.
Wait. Wow. Don't get nervous. Don't get nervous.
Peace. I'm chilling. How
How
y'all? How
you
y'all?
feeling? I'm
Right on.
good.
Miss
I'm good.
Ayana, how are you this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. Not too bad.
Right on.
So, Ayana, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself, so they can be introduced to you, kind of tell them about what you do
Okay. Well, I do
profession-wise.
right now. In terms of what I do for a living, I work for a property consultancy, but I am a writer, a home workout advocate, a lover of cake. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right.
I'm all about self-love,
And what type of
encouraging people to love themselves wherever they are in their lives. That's pretty much me.
what kind of inspired that journey for you to want to, inspire people to embrace
It's an issue
self-love
that
within
I've had to deal
themselves?
with all my life. I've had issues with loving myself, for various reasons. And it's something that I had to work on. I'm still working on because it's just, for me, it's a lifelong thing. So I found that on my journey, I've met a lot of people that have issues, and I'm looking at them like, why do you hate yourself? You're so wonderful, you're so amazing. So I felt like it was an important message because a lot of people place value in, especially these days, people only tend to love themselves if people love them. And that is
Yeah,
really problematic.
you're not lying
So,
about that. It is.
so that's
It
the
is
kind of
something
message that I
a lot
want to
of
get
us deal
across to
with.
people. You are who you are, you're worth, you're valid regardless of what people think, or regardless of if people are praising you or not, because we live in a social media driven world, and we rely on praise and accolades, and if we're not getting them, then we feel worthless, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, social media does dictate a lot of how we feel, and self-worth. I will say that I have seen that in real time where people have like used the like number count of a picture or a video to embrace their
Exactly.
worth.
Yeah.
Like be like, oh, I didn't get 100 likes. Oh, they're not really rocking with me. It's like, damn, like you put your self-worth just in, all in a little like. But I mean, that's one of the things that kind of scared me about this upcoming era and what they got to deal with. Like, cause they glue
We
upon,
all are.
you know. Well, we
We
can
all
look
are to a
upon
certain
ourselves,
extent.
but we
Yeah.
teach it. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, this is the world that we live in, but I just feel like it's very important for people to know that your value is not, because I've done that where I've, you know, in the past I've waited for people to say something amazing about me, and then if they don't say it, then I feel like, you know, well, you know, what did I do? Did I not post the right picture? Did I not do the right thing today? Like, why aren't people responding the way that they usually respond? And then I started to check myself. I'm like, well, you know, that's problematic if you're seeing your value only when people are praising you, and then when people are not, then you're kind of depressed and miserable. It's just, yeah, it's a very problematic way of thinking.
Yeah.
She jumped right
You're not
into the
lying about
meat,
that.
yo.
So Jeide,
No, seriously, because I had a question that I was hoping to bring in later on in the conversation, but because yeah, you jumped right into the meat. I could bring up the question right now. Then you know what I mean. Miss Ayana, okay, as a candid as a candid look and inquiry, if you will, as far as, you know, your social media, as far as, you know, a loyal base that you've cultivated over the years, and as far as, you know, you putting up posts that help to uplift your hard work regarding yourself, regarding what you've built, you know, and then having individuals, you know, praise you in certain aspects and certain elements of your work, whether it's in the full totality or whether it's in certain aspects and certain portions. Particularly, for example, I know that from certain discourse that you've had with certain correspondences, you know, there has been certain shadow work, if you will, that you've had with your legs regarding your image with your legs and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, how does your journey look like? If you could just break down your journey in terms of wisdom and discernment between self-love and external lust and adoration. How were you able to get to the place in which you were able to distinguish the two?
Wow, that's a good question. Like, you're making me think.
that's right.
It's a good question. Wow, that's very interesting. I think for me, the point that I'm in now, because I look, when I'm posting pictures of myself on social media, I don't expect that people are looking at me and liking me for the person that I am. They're just looking at the physical, you know. So I don't even think that when I post on social media, I'm expecting people to see me. They just see a package. But the thing is, I know who I am. I know my worth. I know my value. I know, you know, who I am. So I don't necessarily care if other people see that, as long as I know it, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I have to think about that question.
That's fair. That's fair.
Let's think about that one. That's a very interesting question. Never actually thought about it.
I mean, it's one of those humble beginning questions. Like, for example, if I'm putting myself out on the chopping block, one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that helped to cultivate a certain air of confidence that I have is being at the mercy of individuals and communities that I had no business being a part of. It was like I was forcing a certain type of ingratiation. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that was because I myself wasn't really aligned with where I know I needed to be within myself. So because I had that dissonance, it reflected outwardly as far as a new community that I was looking to network with, a new circle that I was looking to add to my corresponding circle, Dash included, you know. So it got to a point, it got to a peak where, because I was so far outside of myself, you know, I had a nervous breakdown, you know. Some people
Right.
will call it a possession, other people will call it a nervous breakdown. For me, I look on both sides of the scale. So it's just, to me, I see value and validation in both of them. You know what I mean? But I trailed that back to me walking away from myself because I had poor self-esteem. I had a poor vision for where I wanted to build things, and I had an ambition that was scaling towards greed and a non-appreciation and gratefulness for what I've already cultivated. So it was like it was never enough. I was looking at other things and other people, and I was like, I want more, I want more, I want more.
Yeah.
And I started walking outside of my knowledge of self because of how much more I wanted, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think I can actually, I feel like that resonates because I feel like there was a point because initially when I got on social media, for instance, I had a very small following, so I didn't really care about people pleasing. I feel like I was more myself then. I was focused especially on my writing. That's what I was putting out there. And eventually I feel like I started to feel pressure, like, you know, people will only see you if you're showing your physical on social media. Like, nobody cares what it is that you have to say. People just want to see you. And if I put that, then, you know, people are going to love me and people are going to like me. So I started doing that. And eventually I started finding that I was relying on people's praise and people's adoration. And I'm like, well, this is not healthy, because then I found that when I wasn't getting that kind of response constantly, I was miserable. And then it hit me one day, like, you know, if you continue to seek validation from people rather than yourself, you'll never be happy. And this is something that I have to constantly work on daily, because I have, like I said, I have a lot of self-esteem issues about certain parts of my body, but I put them out there anyways, because I'm like, I have to accept that this is who I am, you know, and if I don't learn to love myself, like I can't expect anybody else to love me and value me for who I am, the entirety of who I am, you know. So I tend to step out even when I'm afraid, when I'm nervous, like even here on this live. I don't like to do lives. I get very nervous because I'm a pretty shy person, but I'm like, if I don't do it, then I'm never going to get comfortable doing certain things. And that's just what I do when it comes to loving myself and who I am. I have to learn to see the things I hate about myself and force myself to love them. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. And it's becoming more natural to just appreciate myself for who I am, regardless of who's praising, regardless of who's telling me that I'm worth something. It's irrelevant to me at this point. I am valuable. I don't really care about validation from people. I mean, it's nice, I'm not going to lie, when people look at your hard work and appreciate it, but I don't rely on it to feel fulfilled in life. It's not healthy, because if you put conditions on loving yourself, then you're never going to be happy. It's conditional. It's like people only like me because I look a certain way, and so people only like me if I'm a certain age. And when I hit a certain age, then, you know, I'm not going to be appreciated anymore. Your self-love is conditional, and it'll never work. You'll never truly appreciate who you are if there's conditions put on how much you're going to love who you are. So I think that's the issue that a lot of people have, is that our self-love is conditional. You know, we don't even know who we are, most of
Why do you
us.
think
We become who the world tells us we should be, which is, it's very unhealthy in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
What tips would the both of you suggest that people do, or things that you've personally done to like battle that to keep your individuality? In both of y'all sermons, I should say, you both kind of express like trying to maintain that individuality when the world is kind of forcing you to fit into their narrative. So how do you two, you know, create your own narratives and stand in your own individuality? Well, for the both of y'all, how have y'all done that?
I'll let you go first, Ayana.
I was just about to say, you know, wow, I think I've just got to a point now where I don't care. I don't care.
Well, what led to that point? You know, because we all get to that breaking point. So, like, I guess my question is, what was that moment? And you don't have to be detailed answer that moment, but how did that moment feel, or what was that moment like where you were just like, you know what, enough is enough.
I would
Like,
have to give you
this
like
is
some
kind of.
background on my. I come from an African background, and growing up, we had to have a lot of respect for your elders, for your siblings. Like I've got older siblings, and you have to respect everyone, even when they don't deserve the respect. You know, so I always, like when it came to my family especially, I was always concerned about how are my actions going to impact the way that they're perceiving me? How am I? And then at one point I started dating someone, and he used to say to me like, why do you care what these people think? Like, you're an individual. Why are you constantly? Because I was constantly trying to please my family, you know, in terms of what I was wearing, like the things that I would probably wear on social media now. There was a time when I would never wear them because I'm concerned, you know, a family member is going to say something and then it's going to reflect badly on my entire family. And I'm like, why am I taking on the burden of, you know, these stupid cultural? I'm an individual. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You know, I'm not harming anybody. So eventually, it just got to a point where I'm just like, I am killing myself trying to please other people, and it's slowly destroying me. And so one day I just thought, well, I don't care anymore, because I just thought to myself, like, what is the worst that happens if I stop caring? What's going to happen? And there was no answer that really affected my life in a way where I thought, you know, okay, I can't do it. So I just thought, no, I'm just not going to care anymore. And if you don't like it, that's your problem, not mine. You know, and I can't make your issues my issues. So it just happened just one day. It was just like an epiphany. I'm just like, I'm not doing it anymore.
Real shit. Real shit. And Dash, to answer your question, Ayana, the reason why I was celebrating because you said that is because literally my answer was going to be like, I stopped giving a fuck. No, seriously. I'm a person of balance. Dash can attest to this too because, you know, his fly him out icon, you know what I mean, even his necklace, everything is oriented around the yin yang.
Yeah.
So I'm a proponent of balance. So when I say I had to stop giving a fuck, it's not necessarily that I'm completely apathetic as much as it is that I had to observe and I had to account for how much space I'm giving regarding other people, their projections and their energetic influences versus what I had left for myself at the end of the day, you know, and, you know, empath, being raised as well as an African, a Liberian, you know, it's just a lot of things that come into play as far as you kind of have to put yourself last, or you're kind of at the bottom of the totem pole, if you will, you know. And it's not like to say that that's a horrible position because every part of the totem pole manifests what the totem pole is. But also at the same time, it's like I don't need to hold this weight for you. I don't like to be your layaway person. You know what I mean? I don't like to be your insurance policy. You know what I mean? Like, excuse me. If I'm giving, give back. And if you don't give back, that's cool. But also understanding in not giving back, I give to where I know that there is a line, and when I go, don't feel any type of way about it. I've done my job according to my duties and according to, you know, everything that I know about myself and about my reservoir. I'm gone. I had a mistake of giving way too much because when I like somebody, when I rock with somebody, when I rock with people, I genuinely want to see them succeed. And in doing so, I'll give resources, I'll give my energy, and I won't mind. I've had to have several people sit me down, my lady included. It was like, why do you care so much about XYZ? And it made me sit down and go, like, why do I care about this? And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's not healthy towards growth because you're not gonna go too far holding on to. My brother from Chicago, his name is Jay Vega. He goes by the Bouquet Junkies on IG. He has a great analogy about this. It's the hot air balloon analogy. He says when you're going to a new level, you get in that hot air balloon. you hit that thing and the fire goes up and you start to raise, you only get but so high off the ground before you have to start letting sandbags go. The more sandbags you go, the higher you go up. But at the more sandbags you go, now there's people at the bottom like, yo, where you going? Where you going? What about us? And you start to feel some type of way about that.
Yeah.
But as you elevate and you get to a certain point where everybody else who had hot air balloons had to let go of them sandbags, they're all looking at you like, what took you so long? Welcome. You know?
Yeah. That's a great analogy. I've never heard that before. That is something that I'm going to add to my list of analogies that guide me daily. That's pretty cool.
I know that was a good one. I guess my reason, I guess, is all in the same boat because I kind of felt the same way for me. I used to determine my self-worth and how I gave to those around me, you know, and how I added to their life. So I actually seen my worth within the value of their life, like making sure my loved ones was good, whether that was in the physical sense, the financial sense, the mental sense, if I could assist in that way. So for me, I had to get to a point where I was starting to pour more into myself, you know, than I was into the others around me. For me, that moment kicked in. Honestly, that moment kicked in out of being just frustrated and tired, you know, and get to a point where it was just like it was actually physically affecting me to the point where it was just like days where I was like physically just drained, and the thought of even picking up a person's phone call was just too taxing in itself. Where I was just like, all right, you know what, I gotta take a hard look at myself and like how much am I pouring into others, you know, and kind of be real with myself and dial back and make that adjustment, you know, and be more selfish with myself and my resources and my time to even be able to offer to others. So, like, I guess I was in the same boat as y'all. Like, I got to that point where I was just like finally tired with everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's very freeing. And of course, like when you're talking about not caring, it doesn't mean that, you know, certain things don't affect you anymore, but you're not controlled by those things. And I think it is very, very, very important to not allow people's issues, because everybody has, and the thing is, like when you care too much, you're constantly trying to please everyone to your detriment, you know, and then you're wondering why you're struggling and why you're miserable and why you're stressed out is because you are prioritizing people that don't give a shit about you and your mental well-being. Because I just genuinely believe that people that care about me are not going to constantly keep doing things to drain me and not see that that's what they're doing. So if there's people constantly around me that are just making me feel shitty about myself, you know, or feel like, you know, I'm not doing enough, because I've been in that position where I've had friends or people in my life and it just constantly feels like it's never enough. And I had to tell myself, like, look, I'm enough. Like, your problems are yours, you know, and you're bringing that to my door and you want me to handle your shit for you. And I just, like, it's just, if you continue to allow, you know, people's issues and problems to become your own, then you will never move forward. You'll just stay stuck, you know, until you either just want to go kill yourself or, you know, you just, yeah.
You wanted to stop. You try to do something to make it stop. I understand.
Yeah. So I think it's very easy, I think, for us to talk about self-love and tell people that, you know, you need to stop and you need to stop caring about certain things. But like with most things, it's easier said than done. But just because something is easier said than done doesn't mean it can't be done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's just about, you know, staying consistent. So for me, for instance, like every single day when I wake up, you know, I stand in front of my mirror and I look at myself physically, because there's things about myself that I still don't like, and I have to tell myself that there is nothing wrong with me. And that's how I get through, because I'm a very shy person as well, and I've had a lot of people in my life when I was younger tell me, you know, these self-esteem issues came from somewhere. It's from people telling me that this is not good enough or there's something wrong with you. So I took those things and I've carried them through life. So when I look at myself, I have to remind myself that there's nothing wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
You're good as you are, at whatever stage I am in life. And,
Right.
and that I find is very helpful. And it's very freeing, I guess, to not give a shit. It really is.
It is. For real. Dash, this is comment I want to get to real quick. I'm gonna spin it right back to you, but this is one comment that I want to get to by C_Maj2, who said, people that care will help you on the way up. They're the best because they understand from their own experience moving forward with life. So true.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
Yeah. And as you stated earlier, like someone that's really care about you can see, like when you're drained, when you're text, like they'll pick up on it eventually. Like even if they don't necessarily catch it in that moment, they'll know something is off with you, something is bothering you. And I could just think about this times in my personal relationships where I either been off kilter or those around me have been off, and I've just been able to just subtly notice that difference within them. Like even if they didn't want to talk about it, I could tell like there was something up to be like, all right, yo, you know what? Are you okay? The X around or whatever. And I do I have had situations like I'm sure you had yourself, like where you notice where people have been able to notice it but still didn't care enough to X about it or to address it. Like as long as they were getting what they needed out of you, it really didn't matter to them that you were going through a storm, So I'm sure we all had relationships like that as well, like that we had to sit through, And as someone that sat through a lot of them, some because I brought it on to myself as far as like just allowing that person to stay in my life longer than they need to be. And then sometimes just unknowingly knowing this is how this person's character is and just needing time to reveal that, like I've grown that appreciation to be like, you know what, like for those I love, I'll take that extra mile that even if I feel uncomfortable with addressing them or like putting it out there. Because some people, you do kind of got to give them their space to let them walk through their own storm alone, but I'll go out and at least offer the life raft of being like, hey, I'm available to talk if you need it, like I know you're probably not going to accept it, but it's open to you, if you need it,
Oh, this is a very deep, interesting. I've never actually discussed this with people, so this is pretty cool to be able to talk about this. Like it's one thing to be writing posts and not having people necessarily respond. It's a completely different thing when you sit down and actually talk to people and see where they are on their journey when it comes to self and loving themselves. And I think while it's easy, like I said, for us to talk about how it's we don't give a fuck. Just this generation now, especially, just all of us, especially when you are on social media, you feel like the only way that you're going to progress is by caring about what other people think about, so we're basically people pleasing on social media. We're trying to become this person that, I guess the world has told us is the in thing today. We're trying to fit into a certain box, and that's why I just feel like just in general, social media is just full of, I don't know, just fake. It just feels like most people are pretending. Like you're dying inside, but on the outside you're, showing the world that you want to be perceived a certain way, but that's not who you are. And it's, it's just.
I think kind of social media is offered this safe space to pretend, like it's the possibility of meeting so many people that don't know you. You can pretend to be someone that you don't know, and people have kind of got a little carried away with it that they forget who they are entirely. Like their whole core values go out the window. Like it's okay to like exaggerate slightly on your character. Pretend to be more courageous or whatever it is. slightly more than abnormal, but when you change the character so much that you see it in people's personalities, like even those that you encounter. And I'm gonna speak for myself personally, like where I can, I've had relationships where I can tell the person's night and day from who they're posting online. Like who they're posting online is completely different than who they are offline. It's just like, whoa, who is this person? Like that actually, honestly, I unfollow you. Like it's some people that's in my life that I know personally
because
that
you
I just
know
unfollow on social media because they are, yeah. And it's just hard for me to just like continue to see you post and pretend to be this person I know you are, and it's just like I don't know why, but it bothers me to a certain extent too. Like where it's just like, you know what, embrace who you are. You know, like if you're weird, you're goofy, you're whatever. You know, like those attributes are what need to shine the most, because you know more times than not people can relate to that more than they are to the cool guy, the bad guy or whatever it is, you know, like that's just facades people put on, you know. But behind these closed walls, they're more like the goofy person than they like to let on, you know. And once you understand that, and once you're just really just comfortable in who you are, you kind of, like as you said earlier, you just stop giving a fuck, you know. And just start
I mean,
rolling off
how
your
can
back.
you really love yourself if you don't even know who you are? Like a lot of people are on social media and they don't actually, you don't actually know who you are. You are only who the world wants you to be. So you're constantly changing to fit into this box. So if the world says today that, you know, you have to look a certain way, then you go and change yourself to look that way so people will praise you, and then that's who you are. And then when that changes, then you follow and change along with, you know, so you don't. So I'm like, I could be watching you and thinking like, but who are you? Like, do you even know who you are? Do you know what kind of, like, what makes you you? You know, and a lot of people don't know who they are, and you can't love yourself, like I said, if you have no idea what self to love. Because
that question. I love that question. What makes you you? Like more people should ask themselves that, you know, and I think they'll really struggle with that answer, you know. I'll give you a little back history on me. Like I do therapy, and actually, in one of my earlier sessions, that was a question that she pitched to me. Like, what is it about myself that I love about myself? And when she initially asked it, I gave her like all these answers that were like superficial to a sense. I was just like, I was telling her about like my job that I love and like my family, and she was like, no, what is it about me, like personally me, that I love about myself? And like I had to sit there for a minute and like as I was pondering for answers, like it dawned on me like, damn, like what do I love about myself? And I was just like, you know, how many people really go through this, you know, like throughout themselves? I mean, who else experienced this feeling themselves where they had the question like, what is it about myself that I actually love? You know, like not what I provide for others, but what do I love about myself? Like when I close the doors, what am I truly happy with? You know, and like my list was smaller than I wanted it to be at the time, so like it kind of like gave me the opportunity and really like it pushed me to kind of like really just pour into myself and kind of figure out what do I love about myself, and really trying to figure out what is it about me that makes me me, you know, like what do I like about me, not what everybody else likes about me, but what do I like about me, what attributes stand out to me, what attributes do I want to change, you know. And honestly, that's where I really feel like my journey really started of really understanding myself and learning myself. Like I could say I knew myself before, but I'm really feeling like I'm really just tapping into really getting to know all of me now, you know, at this current phase of my life.
Self-reflection, which is, I think, a lot of people don't do is reflect on who they are. You know, you're just, I don't know, living in some bubble or some fake reality. And it's very important, I think, to sit down and get to know who you are, because I think that a lot of people just don't know. You think you do, but you actually don't know who you are. You don't know, like that question that you said, for instance. I think a lot of people would have a hard time telling someone else what it is that they actually like about themselves without thinking about what have other people told me makes me this wonderful person. And then you start listing those things, but it's like, yeah, but what do you like about yourself? And then we also have this fake humility thing where we feel like if we praise ourselves, you know, it makes us arrogant. And I'm like, but if you're okay with praising other people, why don't you do the same for yourself? Like, why can't you see how valuable and how amazing you are unless someone is telling you. So,
Yeah. And then I feel like people kind of got this notion of they don't want to brag on themselves too much because they've been told like, oh, that's too egocentric, like, so they have this notion of being scared to want to brag on themselves because they're like, oh, I don't want to be seen as egocentric by boasting on myself. But at the same time, praise on yourself. Like, if you're doing it, like, praise you. If you don't praise yourself, who else gonna praise you? Like, and it's just like we kind of gotta break those. We kind of gotta break those bad patterns that we grew up with, like that. Our parents instilled in us, but even those growing up around us instilled in us. Like out of lack of fear, securities within themselves that they might have accidentally pushed onto you. Like I can honestly, I can even think back to situations that I actually experienced as a child. And I actually used this one situation when I was going off to college. Me and my uncle had a conversation at the time. No one in my family had even thought about going to college, so I was like the first person to really venture out into college, especially at that age. And I remember my uncle like not trying to put the thought of fear in my head, but he was like putting the thought of fear in my head because he was just like, Dad, he was like, nobody else in my family ever did it, like what you about to do is going to be tough, like, and he was like pitting all trying to. He was almost psyching me out of wanting to do it because he was putting all this doubt in me that I didn't realize he was putting into me until I got away to college. And I was like, anytime I was having like a moment of self-doubt, his conversation kept popping up in my head. And I was like, that's the source of it. It's not even me, it's him. Like, and I was just like, I'm carrying his insecurities and they making me insecure in that within myself. Like, I gotta break out of this. Like, that was like one of the few situations that I was able to actually in real time actually catch what was happening. But and more times than not, like those situations just kind of linger on and it just become a way of your life until it really becomes an issue that you have to address.
Yeah, true. So thank you for even being transparent with that, Dash, because that actually ties into a question, not necessarily a question that I had, but that helped to influence and add more flesh to this question. So this is to the both of you. Have you gotten to a place now where preparation is devoid of fear and hesitation and apprehension, or do you feel that with preparation there's still an element of that that's necessary for you to engage to the next level, if you will?
I feel like fear is healthy. Like, I don't feel like fear is like a bad thing. I embrace it. Like, I honestly feel I'm honestly in a position now, or I'm honestly where I'm seeking fear. So I'll be super transparent with y'all right now. About a week and a half ago, I quit my job just sporadically because I was just tired of the structure that was set in place. I was tired of the rules. I knew my time there was just minimal, and it was really just only a matter of time before our paths was going to sever just by the way things was falling. So I stepped out on faith, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to rest on my own laurels, and I'm just going to throw faith in the wind. I'm just going to trust that what's for me is going to find me, and that's what I did. I just quit. No 2 weeks notice. I just listen. Today is my last day. Let's just cut ties. Stepped out on faith. Actually, faith rewarded me, by actually stepping out on faith. Things worked out in my favor. I was able to land on my feet better than I anticipated, but, like I also had to take that leap of faith within myself. And it's something like I was kind of battling with for a long time because, like, for me, pouring into others, I've always told people, you know what, take that leap of faith, like get into that relationship, take that job, whatever it is that's calling you, step into that faith. But for me, I was walking in hesitancy, and I kept thinking like, the back of my mind was always just like, you know what, I don't want to fall back on my bills, or like this position is so comfy, do I really want to take that leap of faith and bet on myself? Like what would betting on myself look like? Like, do I even have the resources in place to rebound if things don't work out? And I really didn't. So I was really just like leaning on faith, but like something was calling me to just be like, you know what, your time here is done. Like what I needed to learn, what my time was over. And it wasn't like it wasn't like I had bad blood towards anybody, but it was just like where I just didn't even feel that challenge. I didn't even feel the nerves of, well, while I always had nerves when I had entered the job. It was a new challenge. And like, if I don't get them butterflies, I don't feel that fear. I'm like, all right, well, what am I doing here? What am I doing? You know, like, this is getting too repetitive. Now I'm not even challenging myself. So do I want to live a life where I'm not even challenging myself? Or do I want to live a life where I'm just going through the same motions day by day, day by day, day by day? And then each day I'm getting frustrated and more agonized. And I lived that before, where every day in my life I can picture was the same thing every day. I knew at 8 o'clock what I was going to be doing at 10 o'clock. And I was just like, I don't want to live that way. So I see my life going back in that trajectory. It's time to make a change. And like, I guess that's where I'm at with it. You know, like, anytime I see myself getting too stagnant, living like where I don't want to live, or I feel like I'm repeating the same patterns over and over again, I got to take that leap of faith. I got to do something that's going to put some fear into me, that's going to challenge me, you know. And if I don't have that little bit of fear, like, what are we doing? You know, like, so I guess for me, yeah, I want that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree.
That's
I
my
think
long-winded-
that fear to a certain level is definitely healthy. But like, for when I was growing up, my dad did everything, like he did everything for us, so I was never independent. So I think when I turned 19, then I got my first job, I was so afraid, you know, of going out into the world without my dad supporting me or without family. And I was constantly afraid of everything. I was always afraid to try new things. I was always afraid to go somewhere. I was always afraid to go on holiday. Just anything that didn't involve someone protecting me, I was always afraid. And for me, that obviously was unhealthy because it restricted my ability to do certain things, because I'm like, I don't want to do it because there's nobody there to support me. I'm scared, you know. So I had to learn slowly to overcome my fears. So now, while I prepare for stuff, I feel afraid, but I do things afraid. That's pretty much what it is. So even if I feel fear about doing something, I'm like, well, I'd rather do it and try it and know that it's either going to work or it's not going to work, than just remain in one place and say, well, I'm afraid, I'm not going to do it. So I think fear is healthy, because I feel like people that lack fear become careless, but also you don't want to be so afraid that you allow it to stop you from going out and trying things. And so for me, I will try regardless of, like, most things that I step out to do, I do afraid, but I'll do them anyways, you know. And then eventually when I've done it, I'm like, okay, this wasn't so bad. I've done it now. Next time I can do it again. And it encourages me to want to do more, because I'm like, oh yeah, I did that other thing and it worked out. Well, that didn't work out, but I'll try something new. So, and like you as well, there was a job that I had and I really, really hated it. I was miserable, you know, but it paid the bills. And I'm like,
right, like, those
I need to leave this job. Like, I was constantly complaining. Like, I would come home and I was talking about work, and my sister is like, you're always talking about work even when you're not at work. And one day I was just like, you know, I'm leaving. I'm not doing this anymore. I didn't have any backup plan. I'd applied for loads of jobs and nothing was working, but I was like, I can't stay here, you know, because I'm afraid that if I leave, my life is going to end. And as soon as I left that job, a week after I left that job, I got hired for a job that I'm now doing and I now love, and that pays me better and I'm at peace. So if I had decided, oh, I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to stay at this job because it pays the bills, you know, I'm comfortable, it's safe, I'm miserable, but I'm just going to keep doing it.
Miserable.
You know, that's fear restricting you from moving forward. So sometimes, yeah, like you said, you have to take a leap of faith and just do what you got to do for your sanity.
That fear do build resentment, and it just creates this anxiety within you, you know, because once you give into the fear, it just creeps in. Then it's something else. Like any little challenge, that you always doubting yourself before you even think about the idea of, like, I can do this or this is possible. You got that fear.
Yeah.
Well, what if it don't work out? And like the minute I start thinking about what if it don't work out first, I'm like, all right, I got to do this. Like, regardless of what it is, I got to do it, because I'm already in my head. I've been defeated. So I got to show myself that I can't be mentally defeated, just to prove it to myself. Like, it's some things I even do now. Just I don't even want to do, but I do just out of the necessity of just challenging myself. So for my upcoming birthday in February, I've decided I want to go skydiving. This is a way of like challenging myself to to like the biggest extent. 'Cause I'm just like, what's more scarier? Because I'm so petrified of heights. I'm just like, what better way to challenge my fear of heights than to jump out? Like that is only me and my instructor. And the way they described it is just like it's just us in the sky. So like if I'm going to beat this fear, there's no better way to do that. And I'm just like, you know what? Let me challenge myself. This sounds scary as hell. Just reading the brochure, like I'm already getting petrified. So let me lean into this further, you know, and allow God to just walk in faith with me. And like even like as I like had the conversation with my mom, she was just like, damn, you want to do that? Like I heard her fear up and I was just like, you know what, I gotta do it now. Cause like this isn't even something that's just gonna trouble me. This is something like I can see like this is fearful for her too. So this is a real challenge I need to embark on just for myself, you know. And I was just like, it's little things like that that we kind of just gotta just do for ourselves and just in life, just make sure that we're living in the moment with, you know. So that's just my
Right
little
on, right
share
on.
with y'all, you know.
There's something that the both of you, some things, but in particular, something that the both of you mentioned regarding fear in connection with things that y'all hated, despised, or just ill-minded about, but you made a conscious decision to keep it in your life because of obligations. And I feel like it's important for us to put as an identifier to this conversation regarding self and self-love, that it's kind of like those political campaign commercials where now, like it used to be, hey, vote for me because and now it's more like, don't vote for him because you know. So the narrative has changed, you know. It's like taking it and bringing it back down, grounding it. It's like it's not necessarily about what we do for ourselves as far as what benefits ourselves, what we do in terms of what feeds ourselves. It's like, nah, I gotta do this because of bills. I gotta do this because I'm feeding this family member, or I'm doing this for this family member. Because if I don't, then what happens? I'm the provider. I'm this. I'm that. You know what I mean? It's like we kind of
Yeah,
re-engineered and we reverse, you know what I'm saying, reverse mechanized ourselves in terms of not necessarily focusing on what builds for self in terms of what helps us, what waters us. And now it's more about, well, this helps for what I do for this person, or this helps for what I do for this element, or this helps for what I do for keeping the lights on, or this and a third. And it's like, look, honestly, keep things all the way funky. You know, I'm blessed. God is good, but I done came from having no power. I done came from having no water sometimes. I done came from having no heat in the wintertime. You know what I mean? You got to make shit happen. It's something about being without, quote unquote, that pushes you and that puts you in a place where it's like, all right, what you going to make happen now? This luxury is gone. What you going to make happen? How are you going to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, because if you have nothing but luxury around you, you know what I mean, you become complacent. If everything is comfortable around you, you become dumb
that's a
complacent.
fact.
Now you don't even want to endeavor towards anything. You don't even want to aim or reach your arm because everything is within arm's reach.
That's a fact. No, you speaking facts. Everything you said is completely true. You know, like that's actually one of the that's that's why the discomfort is so needed because it do create that ambition within you. You know, like, and that's why like you'll even hear like motivational coaches talk about like get uncomfortable. You know, like once you're feeling too uncomfortable, that's the goal, to get uncomfortable, to stay uncomfortable, like to create like a lifestyle where you're always uncomfortable to an extent. You know, like because living too comfortable do create that that leniency, that laziness, honestly, you know, like, because you do get lazy within it and be like, you know what, like, this is good. Like, I don't want to mess this up. And then you fall into those patterns of, you know, falling into jobs that you hate because there is no challenge. Like, after a while, even that becomes boring, you know, like, who wants to do the same thing over and over again, you know, like, if you've been told, like, that day is going to be the same day for the rest of your life and you don't know when that's going to end, you're gonna be like, it may be cool for the first couple days, but after a while, you're gonna want some flavor to it. You're gonna want to spice it up. You're gonna
I
want to change it.
Nah,
think
that's a
Like,
fact.
discomfort is essential to growth, definitely. You have to be uncomfortable to grow because, like you said, if you're comfortable, what's your incentive to change anything? You're just, yeah, this is great. I'm
yeah.
happy. All is great. So a lot of people get comfortable and they don't move. You just stay stagnant because
Mhm.
they don't want
Mhm.
more.
Nah, that's a fact. That's a fact. All right, Dash, you know what I mean? Ayana, thank you so much, Dash. You already know what
Yeah.
time it is. For everybody who's up in here, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'm sorry I got to get back to my daughter, but Ayana, we send our flowers, our love. Thank you for your presence,
Thank
especially for battling
you.
with your own shyness in order for us to be blessed with your presence here. Thank you so much, and thank you
No
for joining us
problem.
for real,
Thanks
for
for
real.
having me.
Peace to
Thank you.
y'all.
Take care.
And Ayana, we
Yeah.
actually gonna wrap up ourselves, but I do have
Mm-hmm.
one last question for you. And it's because you said that you mentioned how shy you were. Like, so my question is, how do you navigate? Because you are an attractive woman. How do you navigate? Posting attractive posts, but also sending your message at the same time. Because I see you found like a nice balance
I
between the two.
think I try to use, I guess it's like a very, I don't know, it's a very weird way of putting it, but I try to use what I have to my advantage. So people are attracted to how you look physically, but then if I attract your attention, then I get your attention and hopefully get you to pay attention to things that actually matter, as opposed to just looking at me and then just going off. So I found that has worked. I found that I've spoken to a lot of people through, just visuals. They come, they see, and then they want to know more. And then they're like, okay, you're not just someone that's just posting pictures of yourself. You actually have something to say, because obviously I write. It's very important for me to put captions, and so it's very fulfilling when I find that, people actually pay attention to what you say. So while it may seem a bit shallow to use your physical to attract people's attention, I have found that is a great way
It works.
to make it work. And if that's what I have to do to speak to people, then that's what I'm going to do. So and the good thing about social media is that being shy, pictures, I don't have to talk to anybody. I just write it down and you read it, and we move on. So it works. It works.
I could think that. Now I do. You know what? I
Yeah.
lie. I have one last question. How do you go about picking what topics it is that you
I
want to speak
usually
about
just
until,
go with how I'm feeling, or if I've had a discussion with a friend, or even someone that's just sent me a message about something that they're dealing with. I tend to just draw inspiration from my personal experiences or the experiences of those around me. I always want to be encouraging, even if it's just the one person that is reading the encouraging message. At least I've reached one person, and hopefully that helps them or motivates them or encourages them. So yeah, but I draw inspiration from everywhere.
okay,
Thank
okay.
you for
Well, thank
having
you. Thank you for
me.
joining us today.
This is great.
All right. Oh, I appreciate you for coming up. All right. Well, I do want you to let the people know where they can contact you. Follow you. If you want to, a
Uh,
YouTube channel, your
Yeah, if
Patreon,
you go on my
IG.
Instagram and go to my bio, my Instagram is yours.sincerely.yana. And then if you go into my bio, all my links to all my different pages, my YouTube, my fitness channel, and the channel that I review stuff. And then my Patreon. So yeah, all the links are there in the link tree. So please go check them out.
Okay. Okay. Everybody, this is Ayana. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Positive Vibes, maybe. Make sure y'all like, follow, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Positive Vibes, maybe. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Patreon at Positive Vibes, maybe as well. And follow us on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter as
No,
well.
take
And
care.
enjoy your night.
Thank you.
It's Sunday.